The Desert Pyramid. One of the Minecraft desert's most defining features, but overall, not the most interesting structure. It's characterised by these two towers with a pyramid out the back and some balconies, with an entranceway that looks like it could be possibly modelled after the Creeper. On the inside we have some archways with a minimal amount of light coming from the roof, and of course the loot chamber below with the TNT trap. I want to keep all of these features, but first we need to make it bigger. I start by world editing in a much larger pyramid for our base, and then I put back in some of the smaller towers that I had copied to my clipboard. I then try and world edit them around the build a lot, but I fail at this and eventually just go back to working on one side, and I'll copy and paste it over later. So I'm going to add two of my own big towers, as I think these will really make the Desert Pyramid what it is. So at this point I move over to add back in the balconies on either side of the pyramid, and I accidentally make one a little bit taller than the other, which causes a bit of issue later down the line. But anyway, moving back to the entranceway, I decide to try and do it small with the area I've got, but I realised that it would look a lot better if I moved both of the pillars to the side to give myself a little bit more space. And yes, I have realised that one of the pillars is bigger than the other, but don't worry, I do fix it later down the line. So once I've moved the pillars to the side, I can begin working on the pillars at the side here, which I then move to the corner instead of having one on each side. I then go and do this on the other side, and I think this in the long run will make the build look a lot cleaner, and I'm really happy how this side turns out. So then moving back to the entranceway, I try and give it a shape like a creeper's mouth, and I really do want to keep the two little orange eye bits from the original build, so I add them back in, and then I join the entranceway to the floor and then move it back so that the tunnel connecting the entranceway and the pyramid won't be as long as it would have been if I'd have left it where it was. I then connect it up to the pyramid and do a little bit of fancy work to hide the orange bits in the back. Then, moving on to the roof, I wanted to keep the style similar to the original towers, so I kept this kind of flat bit, but I added in some peaks and some banners to add more interest and colour to the top. I then go up another layer, add more peaks, more banners, and then one thing at the top to make it look just all that more grand. Then, moving on to the design at the front, I wanted to stick with the original kind of amulet design at first, but then I decided to change it up a bit. So I drilled it a bit further back into the wall, as I wanted to keep the original basic shape, but I then got out my stairs and my slabs and started the most time-consuming part of this entire build, the detailing on the front of this pillar. So I wanted to stick with the amulet to begin with, but then I decided to go for some kind of maybe a crab worshipping this kind of mystical orb up in the sky. And I'm quite happy with how the orange bits turned out. And then I added actually a new block to the block palette down at the bottom, which was a little bit of blue to possibly represent the ocean or whatever water they're worshipping, because of course they are in the desert. So then I trim off the sides of the pillars to make it look just a little bit less flat, and I think it really makes the design pop out and look a lot better. So then I try and world edit this over to the other side, and this is the point where I realise that actually the other pillar is a little bit too big. I then realised that I had messed up. I would have to redo the entranceway as well, so I trimmed off the side bit here and got back to work. Now I don't necessarily think this was a bad thing, because I made the eyes bigger and used stairs around them, which actually you can see makes the texture pop of them a lot more, so you can still see the vibrant orange colour. I then turned my attentions to the little towers over here, which I wanted to fashion off possibly the Wither or the Totem of Undying. And at first I tried doing it off the wither, but it wasn't really working out for me that well, so once I'd trimmed the sides off the build, I decided to go with the totem design, as I can imagine the ancient villager racers who possibly lived in this desert temple, possibly using or creating the totems of Undying themselves. So I then go and world edit that all around that pillar, and then go and copy that over to the other side. So moving my attention back to the balconies, I added a little bit of a frill of banners around the bottom of the balcony and then worked on the entranceway. I then did this for the sides as well, and I added a little bit of a dash pattern using the blue terracotta, which I think turned out quite nice. I then made a wall around the edge and put some more banners on the inside to add more colour. I then used string all on top of every wall to just give it that kind of frilly look. I then began to world edit the entire thing over to the other side, removing all of the bits so that nothing could get in the way, and then I did it, and that was the moment that I realised one of the balconies was taller than the other one. So my first job was to fix that. So I very quickly did all of what I just did again to fix the balconies, and then I turned my attention to the inside of our pyramid. So the first thing that I needed to do was light the inside up, because it was too dark for you guys to see and for me to see. So once I'd done that, I made these two side walls flat to make them a little bit of a blank canvas. I then decided that it would be nice to add a bridge between the two balconies, and whenever you're building a bridge in Minecraft, you should always give it some support like I do in this bit here, because it'll just make it look a whole lot better and a lot more realistic. I also decided to give it a handrail by adding a new block into the block palette, which is just a little bit of wood, with some fences and some fence gates. So then I moved my attention to the two walls where I want to add back in the archways. So behind these are going to be completely dark, and if I was doing this as an actual dungeon, I'd probably add some spawners behind there, possibly for some husks, or maybe it'd be cool to add an exclusive type of desert skeleton maybe to the desert pyramid to make it a little bit more of a challenge and feel a little bit more rewarding for the loot, but of course the loot would have to be a little bit better. I then detailed all of the arches with some stairs and added some banners on top of them. So I'm now going to start work on the cavern underneath the pyramid and on the pattern on the floor. So I find out exactly where the cavern is, and then I decide to make it a lot bigger. So then I pile up the TNT all around the corners of the room, and so that when this thing goes up, it's gonna go up and no one is going to survive it. And then surround it all with gold blocks and put one trap chest. Obviously I don't link it up because I don't want to blow up my own build. Then light it up down there, and then start work on the pattern on the floor, which indicates where the chamber is. So I start with an inside of blue, and I move out to some nice orange with some lovely offshoots. Now on the end of these offshoots, I'm actually going to do the design that was originally on each of the towers of the pyramid. So with all that done, I remove all the lights and add my very own chandelier as a final finishing touch, because this build is just about done. So let's have a look at the finished product. I am really happy with how everything in this build turned out. It turned out pretty much exactly how I would imagine it, and well, we had a little bit of a rocky start with getting a lot of the dimensions wrong and that, but I think it turned out amazingly with the detail on the pillars and the pyramid behind it. I think the totem looks great, and I really do like the balconies, and we're not going to talk about the fact that they're not actually centered anymore because I didn't do them right again. So anyway, that is just about going to be the end of this video. I really do hope you enjoyed. Please, if you did, leave a like and subscribe to the channel because it really helps me out. And I will see all of you in the next one. Goodbye!